The next speaker is Michael Moran. You've met Michael on more than one occasion, and he's going to talk to you about the certification of composite products. Over to you, Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, Peter?
Yes, Michael, I can.
Okay, because the only one I can check with is you. It would be dreadful to be talking to myself for whatever length of time it takes. Anyway, thanks very much to James Hannon for introducing the topic, the very complex topic of composite products. I think that it's in my work as a veterinary inspector and in the department, we never really had to think too much about composite products until now, and we've had to think very strong and hard about how we're going to deal with them. So James has put forward the idea of the definition and the exceptions and the derogations and the ones that need to be presented at a border control post but don't need certificates, etc. My presentation is based on the fact that you've already decided that they need a cert, and that decision will be taken by a combination of yourselves as food business operators and the competent authority that's in charge of your premises. So it's important that you decide as quickly as you can and decide the CN code as well. Now, okay. So James has mentioned some of this, the relevant legislation, but I think it's important to remember that one of the goals of the Brexit was that the UK would eventually become unaligned or disaligned or whatever the word is with the European Union, and by retaining the regulations that they have done, and the EU has moved on since the 21st of April this year. So now they're working to legislation that's out of date in the European Union. So we are, in order to certify product to GB, we have to use legislation that's no longer in force in the European Union. And the first one is that James mentioned is Commission Decision 2007-275, and that's retained, as I say, by them. And that defines, as he said, gives the definition of a composite product. The definition under the new legislation in the EU is somewhat simpler than that, but it doesn't matter because this is what they're working to and this is what their certificate is based on. And we also then have the import regulation for UK, which is the old EU regulation, Commission Regulation 28 of 2012, and that was amended in the same year by another regulation 468 2012. But they're all now past tense in the European Union, but retained by GB. So we'll just talk a little bit about Regulation 28 2012, which deals with this import of certain composite products, and they use the word certain because there's others that are derogated or excluded. And that's the direct import for use in the UK and also storage and transit of certain composite products into and through the UK. So if it's going purely for storage into the UK or transit through, there's a separate certificate, and James mentioned the numbers of them. They're ending in 088E for import direct and 089E for transit and storage. And the model certificates are contained within that regulation, and the GB has created its own versions of those models. So consignments of the following composite products introduced into the UK shall come from a third country, that is Ireland or part thereof. And so any countries must be authorised for the introduction into the UK of consignments of products of animal origin contained in those composite products. And the products of animal origin used for the production of such composite products shall originate from establishments in compliance with Regulation 853/2004, that's Article 6.1b, which means that they must be listed under 853. And concerning listing and all of that, we have now decided that any HSE plants that want certification to GB will have to transfer over to DAFM. before they will get any certificates, because we haven't got any other arrangement at the moment that suits that purpose. So an export health certificate is required for composite products containing processed meat in any quantity that are referred to in Article 4A of the decision 2007-275. Again, as James said, composite products containing processed milk products and covered by Article 4B and C. So it's any quantity of meat, but for milk there are conditions, and for other processed animal products there are also conditions. And these conditions are in Article 4B and C of Regulation Decision 2007-275. This is what Article 4 says. It basically says what composite products are subject to official controls, and this includes certification. So composite products containing processed meat, composite products containing half or more of their substance of any one processed product of animal origin other than processed meat. So it's half their substance of any one. So if there's a combination of different other than meat, I think James is right about that contradiction in the UK documentation. And then composite products containing no processed meat product and less than half of their substance, provided they comply with this Article 6. And again, there's Article 6. I'm not going to read through that, but that gives us all the exceptions that can give us a derogation from certification, including being shelf stable or cooked fully. So we'll just go through if meat is required. Now, the composite product certificate has a place for certification of meat, dairy, egg, and fish. And you only have to certify those if they are within certifiable quantities in the composite product. So if there's any meat in it at all, you have to certify the meat. So the requirements for meat, country of origin. And all this information must be provided to the certifying veterinary inspector in advance of certification through proofs like the incoming certificate, CHED, the Combined Health Entry Document. So the country of origin must be one of the following: the same country as the country of export, which in this case would be Ireland, Great Britain itself, or a third country or parts thereof authorised for export to Great Britain, and that includes EU member states or third countries. For those countries, treatment A is the only treatment that can be used. Now, I'll talk about treatments in a minute, but that's a restriction. So if a country that a product was a processed meat product was imported from required a treatment other than treatment A, then it cannot be included in a composite product certified on this certificate. Plant of origin. So the plant of origin of the meat must have been approved under Regulation 853, whether that was in an EU member state or a third country member state or GB itself. The plant of origin of the composite product may just have been registered. It doesn't have to be necessarily approved. So, but the meat has to come from an approved premises. But where the composite product is manufactured can just be registered under Regulation 852. For BSE requirements, again, bovine, ovine, or caprine meats must meet the BSE requirements in relation to the risk category of country, and there's a lot of material in the certificate that talks about the OIE risk, BSE risk of the country, and of course they may not contain any SRM based on the definition of the risk of the country. The record of treatments. Now, in previous presentations we talked about Regulation 2007-777, and the same treatments apply for any meat that's in a composite product. So the certificate has space for the treatments like this: species, treatment, country of origin, ISO code, and the approved establishment that it came from. And again, only treatment A is allowed. So for instance, we would have whatever bovine species was used, treatment A, ISO code GB itself, and that's the plant of origin. And then ovine treatment A came from Ireland, that fictitious plant. These are the treatments. Treatment A means no minimum specified treatment. In other words, so long as the treatment converted the meat from being a raw product to a meat product, that means changed the nature of the fibers in such a way it's either cured or cooked, but there's no minimum treatment required. Requirements for dairy. These are processed dairy products in composite products. So first of all, you only need to certify if the dairy product is 50% or more of the overall substance of the composite product, or in any quantity if it's not shelf stable. So if there's cream or cheese or whatever and you have to chill or freeze the product, then you have to certify. Country of origin. So the country of origin, again, just like meat, must be the same country as exporting it, Great Britain itself, or a third country that's approved to import or export into dairy products into GB. So, you know, if there's some country trying to export into Ireland and the product then is going to GB and it's not, the country itself is not authorized, then you have a problem. The plant of origin, again, must have been approved under Regulation 853. That's the plant of origin of the dairy product itself, okay? But the plant of origin of the composite product may just have been registered under 852. The animal health rules, and this either, if it's not coming from Ireland, it has to be proven to the certifying VI. The farm must have been under control of the veterinary services of the state where the milk was produced. There must be no restrictions for foot and mouth disease or rinderpest, and the farm must be subject to regular veterinary inspections, which is the normal run of affairs here in this country. And then the treatment. So dairy products must have been treated in accordance with the requirements of Regulation 605/2010, which is the dairy import regulation into the EU, and the UK have retained a version of that. The treatments that are allowed are, and there are quite a few of them, but you know, pasteurization, simple pasteurization, 72 degrees for 15 seconds, giving an negative alkaline phosphatase test. Sterilization, where with an F value of greater than or equal to 3. Ultra heat treatment, greater than 135 degrees with a suitable holding time. High temperature short time applied twice and using some combination of pH, which I didn't fully understand. And then in relation to the milk of imported animals, and this is a complication, it has to be either sterilized or UHT treated. In relation to fishery products, and if they're in composite products, you only need to certify if 50% or more of the overall substance of the composite product is fishery product. And the origin must come from a country approved to export fishery products to the EU or to GB, must come from an approved establishment, and the composite product may come from a registered establishment, just like we had for the others. And in relation to egg products, again, you only need to certify if it's 50% or more of the overall substance. So all of these statements are on the certificate, and you only tick or select the radial buttons for these if more than 50% of the overall composite product is made up of more than 50% egg. The origin must come from a country approved to export. No, that's, excuse me, that's not. Must come from an area free of highly pathogenic avian influenza and Newcastle disease within a 10-kilometer radius within the previous 30 days. So that's the principal animal health restriction. heat treated in accordance with Regulation 468/2012. And the treatments then, there's a whole load of them in the certificate that are quite complex, and you just need to look at them and see where your product fits. You have lots of things like 55.6 for 870 seconds, and it's quite complex. So as I say, and it depends on whether it's liquid egg, dry white, whole egg blends, and you and your certifying VI will need to study your egg product and decide which one of these it fits. So that's my presentation, and as I say, composite products are complex. It's making the decision that it is a composite product is the most important thing, and then deciding whether it needs certification or not. Once you get that far, the actual certification itself isn't too difficult, provided you have all the backup supporting documentation. Anyway, thank you very much.